In the town where Ada and Amaka grew up, people used to joke that if you hurt one sister, the other one would feel the pain. They were that close. From childhood, they did everything together. They shared clothes, dreams, secrets, and even punishments when their mother could not tell who broke the plate in the kitchen. If Ada got into trouble, Amaka stood beside her. If Amaka cried, Ada was always the first person to wipe her tears. Their bond only grew stronger as they became adults. So when they both got engaged within the same year, their families laughed and decided there was only one sensible thing to do. Let us marry them on the same day, their father said proudly. Two daughters living the house together. The wedding became the talk of the town. Two brides dressed in white, standing side by side, smiling at the same future they believed would unfold the same way. But life can change things in ways you don't expect. Not long after the wedding, Amaka became pregnant. Everyone celebrated the news, especially Ada, who stayed with her sister through the cravings and the endless hospital visits. When the day of delivery finally came, the doctors rushed in and out of the hospital room with serious faces. Then the news came. Amaka had given birth to 4 babies at once. Quadruplets. Ha! The compound turned into a festival ground for days. Women came with food, men came with drinks, and everyone agreed that Amaka had been specially blessed. Ada loved those children as if they were her own. She spent long hours helping her sister, carrying babies, rocking them to sleep, and laughing at the chaos that filled the house. But while Amaka's home was overflowing with life, Ada's home remained painfully quiet. The first year passed, then the second. By the third year, people had already started whispering in corners whenever Ada walked past. Hospitals became part of her life. Tests, medications, prayers, fasting, hopeful doctors, and disappointing results. Each month carried a small spark of hope that slowly died before the next month's arrival. Through all of it, Amaka stayed close to her sister. She defended her whenever people talked too much and often reminded Ada that life did not always move according to people's expectations. By the time Amaka's children turned 5, Ada still had no child. One quiet evening, after watching her sister silently wipe tears she thought no one had seen, Amaka made a decision that she believed would change everything. She sat beside Ada and held her hand for a long time before speaking. I have been thinking about something, she said gently. Ada looked up. What is it? Amaka took a deep breath. You know, I already have 4 children. I am not planning to have any more. Ada nodded slowly, not understanding where the conversation was going. Then Amaka said something that made Ada stare at her in disbelief. What if I carry a baby for you? The idea sounded impossible at first. Ada refused immediately. She said it was too much to ask of anyone, even her own sister. But Amaka did not change her mind. She kept insisting that if her body could give her sister the child she had been praying for, then she wanted to do it. Eventually, after many conversations, hospital consultations, and family discussions, everyone agreed. The process began. Months later, the doctors confirmed it. Amaka was pregnant with Ada's child. At first, the arrangement brought nothing but happiness. Ada treated her sister with even more care than before. She attended every medical appointment and made sure Amaka lacked nothing. But as the pregnancy grew, Amaka started to change. It started with small things. She would sit in the evening, rubbing her belly and speaking softly to the baby. No one thought much of it. After all, the baby was growing inside her. Then her children began calling the unborn baby our new baby. Ada laughed about it at first, but the laughter did not last long. Because one evening, when the pregnancy was already 6 months, Amaka said something that changed the atmosphere in the room. She looked at Ada with an expression that was both loving and troubled. Ada, she said slowly, have you ever wondered what it will feel like for me, after carrying this baby for 9 months, to just hand the child over? The room became very quiet. Ada felt a strange fear crawl into her chest. The tension in the house did not explode immediately. It grew slowly. After that night, Ada could no longer sleep peacefully. Every time she saw Amaka rubbing her belly and smiling to herself, a quiet fear settled inside her. At first, she tried to ignore it. She's just emotional, Ada told herself. Pregnancy does that. But the small things kept happening. Amaka started making decisions about the baby without informing Ada. She chose a name. She bought clothes. One evening, Ada finally could not hold it anymore. Amaka, she said carefully, you remember this baby is mine, right? Amaka did not answer immediately. She just looked down at her stomach and kept rubbing it. Then she said quietly, but I am the one feeling every kick. And that was the beginning of the fight. What started as a calm conversations turned into arguments. What used to be laughter between sisters slowly turned into silence and distance. Their husbands got involved. Family members chose sides. Some said, a baby belongs to the woman who gives birth. Others argued, no, the baby belongs to the one whose egg was used. The love that once held the sisters together began to break under the weight of one child. Then the day came. Amaka went into labor. Ada was at the hospital, pacing up and down, her heart racing with excitement and fear. After hours of waiting, the doctor finally came out. It's a baby girl. Ada burst into tears of joy. But before she could even step forward, the doctor added, there is something else. You need to come inside. Ada walked into the delivery room slowly. Amaka was lying there, weak but awake, holding the baby tightly against her chest, and she was crying deep, uncontrollable tears. Ada moved closer, her hands shaking. Let me carry her, she whispered. Amaka held the baby tighter. No, the word landed like a slap. Ada froze. What do you mean, no? Amaka looked at her, pain and fear written all over her face. I can't give her to you. Everything went silent. Their husbands stepped forward. Nurses looked at each other. No one knew what to say. Ada, Amaka continued, her voice breaking. I thought I could do this. I truly believed I was strong enough, but I am not. I have carried her. I have felt her grow inside me. She knows my heartbeat. She knows my voice. Ada's tears began to fall. But she's my child, she said, her voice shaking. Amaka slowly shook her head. She's our child now. And so, the case went to court. It became a battle that tore the entire family apart. Weeks turned into months, and then the final judgment came. The courtroom was so quiet you could hear people breathing. Ada stood on one side, her hands trembling. Amaka sat on the other, holding the baby tightly against her chest, as if letting go would break her completely. The judge looked at both women for a long moment before she finally spoke. This is not a simple case, she began slowly. One woman carried the child, the other is the biological mother. Both of you have a claim. But more importantly, this child deserves stability, not conflict. So, custody will be shared. The child will be raised by both mothers. When she becomes old enough to understand and decide for herself, she will choose where she wants to stay permanently. A soft murmur spread across the courtroom. Neither Ada or Amaka argued, because deep down they both knew this was the only judgment that did not completely destroy one of them. The arrangement was not easy. At first, it felt unnatural. The baby spent 1 week with Ada and the next week with Amaka. Two women loving her with everything they had, but never at the same time. They tried to be civil, but the tension never fully disappeared. Every exchange of the child came with forced smiles and heavy silence. As the years passed, the baby grew into a bright, gentle girl. She laughed easily, she loved deeply. But even as a child, she noticed things. She noticed how her two mothers avoided looking at each other. She noticed the quiet sadness that followed every handover. And slowly, she began to understand that her life was not like other children's. When she turned 10, she asked her first real question: why do I have two homes? Ada froze. Amaka looked away, but they knew the time had come. So they told her everything: the love, the sacrifice, the fight, the court. The child listened quietly. She didn't cry. She didn't interrupt. She just nodded, like someone trying to arrange pieces of a puzzle that didn't quite fit. Years passed. The question of when she's old enough slowly approached. At 18, the court called them back. The same room, the same silence. But this time, the little baby was now a young girl sitting between two women whose lives had revolved around her. The judge looked at her kindly. You are old enough now, she said gently. You understand everything. Today, you will tell us where you want to stay permanently. The girl took a deep breath. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. She looked at Amaka first. Then slowly she turned to Ada. Tears were already falling down Ada's face. For a moment, the girl said nothing, as if she was carefully choosing words that could never be taken back. Then she spoke. I've had two mothers all my life, and I know both of you love me. But love is not the only thing that matters. When I was younger, I didn't understand anything. I just moved between two homes, two lives, trying not to hurt anyone. But now I understand what really happened. She turned to Amaka, her voice firm but gentle. You were supposed to help my mom. She trusted you, and you broke that trust. Tears rolled down Amaka's face. She didn't speak. She couldn't. Then the girl shifted her gaze to Ada. And you, she said softly, you didn't give up on me, even when it was hard. Even when you had to share me, you stayed. Ada broke down in tears, covering her mouth. The girl took one step forward, her final decision sitting on her tongue. Then she said it. I chose to stay with my mom. I chose Ada. She walked towards Ada and held her tightly. Then, after a few seconds, she pulled away and turned back to Amaka. Tears filled her eyes again. I am not leaving you, she said, but I cannot ignore the truth. You carried me, and I will always respect you for that. But she is my mother. In the end, the girl went home with Ada, not as a child being taken, but as someone who had finally chosen where she belonged. Life didn't become perfect overnight. There were still quiet moments, awkward visits, unspoken pain. But slowly, things softened. She still visited Amaka, still called her, still held her hand when it mattered. Because even though she chose where to stay, she never stopped loving where she came from.